On today's episode of Gathering the Kings.
Guy stands up and says, "You're an idiot." My first thing is, okay, I don't disagree. Let's solve that problem. You know what I mean? So I think other people may have become mad, and defended themselves in a social manner. I didn't interested in me. I don't know who this guy is. He's probably an idiot too. What do I care? I just want to know what I did wrong. And if this guy's willing to stand up and be brave enough to tell me that in class, he's probably brave enough to go to lunch and to continue to educate me. And as was true. A guy's a complete jerk, turned out to be a great friend of mine, still friends with him. He's still a complete jerk. Love the guy to death. And he was one of my absolute first mentors in real estate. Still a friend of mine today.
What's up, everybody? I'm Chaz, Wolfe, Gathering the Kings podcast. I'm back with you. Another real estate king here on the stage, my brother Bill Ham. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm thankful that you're here. We were just digging deep on some Blue Ridge Mountain real estate and history. We were just up there as a Gathering the Kings Mastermind group and spent some time in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Your family has had a cabin up there or a beautiful lake house for a long time. Yeah. We were just reminiscing over the beauty up there.
Yeah. Beautiful place. Appalachia is a beautiful part of the world up there, and Blue Ridge and all that. Yes. Yeah. My family has had my grandfather bought a piece of dirt up on a power dam lake up there. I think we're almost 80 years ago now, and that was back when the survey was the old tree to the rock to the lake to the road. That was a survey, and I'm actually not kidding. So we literally have the old survey that states to the old stump to the rock and we had to have it resurveyed at some point in time. But we literally have the old original from 1940 something, I think, something or other like that.
Yeah. So cool, man. Well, Bill, obviously you're in real estate, but tell us a little bit about the business. You've got kind of several things going on inside of the real estate umbrella. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah. Multifamily owner operator. I have been in the multifamily space for 19 and a half years. I'm like a 4-year-old, right? I'm counting the months. Almost 20 years now. And 2005, I was a pilot flying airplanes. Realized I probably wasn't the best employee in the whole wide world. Saw friends of mine out flipping houses, right? And I'm thinking these friends of mine are idiots, right? They're no different. We were all at the bar last night. We're all doing the same thing, right? And they got up and went out and flipped houses. And I went out to work, and I realized these friends of mine who were just normal people were making what I was making working all year in one, maybe two transactions. And, and I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong with this picture. So I spent about a year just studying, reading, Rich Dad Poor Dad, all the basics, right? And went through all that stuff. And finally got up enough courage and did my very first deal, which was a duplex. Duplex was cash flowing $300 a month, like nothing broke, right? And I had saved up a whopping $10,000, and I turned in my 2-week notice and went into real estate full time. So
I'm all in.
Don't try that at home, kids. I'm not recommending anybody go out and do that. I'm just saying, hey, I was 28 years old at the time. No family, no debt, no kids. So there's my but comma. And it was just right for me. I needed, I realized I was a lazy person by nature, still am, and easily distracted and ADD and all the normal stuff, right? So what I did was to figure out a way to sort of hold myself accountable by burning the bridge back home. All right. So that bridge was the job. And I kind of let the light of the fire shine the way forward. But again, I don't recommend everybody hear this and get too motivated and run out and quit your job. It was a very long, hard road, a lot of success, a lot of failure, really had to tighten the belt. Again, no family, no kids and that sort of stuff. So, but that's how I got here 20 years later, better for worse. I'm still here.
I appreciate that. And also as a little bit of a snapshot of getting started in real estate, younger. I was not as young as 28 when I got started in real estate, but I always kind of had thought back about if I had known about real estate at 22, gosh, I feel like I would just, would have been in that position that you just described. No kids, no debt, no functioning anything else. I could just go all in. But
but let me ask you, today, it's not too hard for a 22-year-old or a 28-year-old to get started in business. 20 years ago, It was almost impossible. I sat at the kids' table. I mean, everybody in the real estate demographic was in their 50s, male and white. Right. I mean, and I walked in and that's what it was. And now I teach and I do lectures and seminars and I stand on that stage and it's a room of complete just diversity. I mean, you don't know who you're looking at. You got young people and old people in all walks of life now. So yeah, nowadays it's much, much easier for younger people without that credibility to get in. Hey man, when you and I were a little younger, it was tough. So if you're
Yeah.
our age, don't beat yourself up for not getting in when you were 22. It was
Yeah.
difficult being young at that time getting in. Not so much today though.
Yeah, I want to explore that because you're right. When I was 24 years old, I was buying my first franchise, and I remember the landlord giving me a hard time, saying
Right.
it wasn't even with me. It was the business owner that I was buying it from. The landlord asked him, "How's this guy going to be able to pay for the rent? He's 24 years old. It's $5,000 a month retail rent."
Right.
And the guy was like, "Wait a second. 24 has nothing to do with it. If this is an existing business that's been here forever, why are you? What is this conversation about?" So I'm with you. I expressed or experienced that. How is that different today? I'm already projecting a couple thoughts in my mind, but how is it different for the guy listening right now who's 22?
I think because we've had a paradigm shift in the education in the world, and certainly in the financial education in the world, there's so much more available now than there was back then. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have people
Right.
like you and I just sharing information for anybody that just wanted to come in and be a part of this. And there wasn't as much giving freely of information, things like that. So I think we've got a little bit of a paradigm shift there too. Young people are so much more into their financial future and into their well-being now than they were when we were 22, 24, 28. Because I remember back then being at that age, all of my friends were not worried about investing and stocks and crypto. And they were worried about the next date, the next dinner, the next party, the next whatever. It was a much, much more experiential lifestyle. And so my opinion, by just being an economist here, is watching the young people change in the way they interact with the world. And so I think we have so many more young people that are business savvy today than we did back then, which is good and bad. It also means there's a lot more dollars inside of the investing world now, which means scarcity of asset and compression of cap rate in multifamily. It means you're going to see things like crypto maybe go up and down, stocks go up and down, right? Because there's a lot more money coming into these markets now through young people. Back when it was our parents and you had to wear, blue suit and tie and work at IBM for this stuff to make sense. It's just not the world we live in anymore. So I think it's a very big paradigm shift. That's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I would agree with you. It's the information age, right? Like we can get anything we need, including, I love a lot of the stuff because we're both in industries where we help other people.
Right.
And it's like, look, you can get anything that you want for free online somewhere. It's just a matter of whether it aligns with you and or whether that person can work with you long term through a YouTube video. And so there's this, you can find the information and you should. I remember going through this stage in my 20s, like I couldn't afford, well, at least that was my belief at that time, that I couldn't afford to invest in myself in that way. So, but what I could afford was time. So I went to YouTube. That doesn't mean that I haven't spent a lot of money since then on books or seminars or coaches or programs or groups. It just means that we're in the information age and you can get it wherever you want. That I think is a big part of it.
That dovetails right into a lot of what I teach people. I teach multifamily and I teach investing and all that. And I have paid product and all that kind of fun stuff. And I tell everybody, don't sign up. Don't sign up with a coach. Don't sign up for any kind of high level program or any kind of mentorship until you've exhausted the cheap information. Don't think writing checks is the solution. I assure you, at 20 years in this business, it is not. And I'm in the business of teaching people, and I'm telling you, it's not the solution. Look, go to all these podcasts, the books, the website. Spend your hustle before you spend your dollars, right? Once you've exhausted all this free information, you're going to have a pretty good idea of what you're trying to do, what information is, who you need to work with, who has the right information. And I just see so many people that just come out of left field. They say, hey, I hear about investing in multifamily. Therefore, I'm going to write a big giant check to this group here for $50,000. And it's a waste. Don't do that. Books are $20. Just buy some books, podcasts. Why you got to spend all that big money? And I'm in the business of taking your money, teaching you. And I'm telling you, don't do it.
Yeah, it's like that moment where the student is ready, and so then the teacher shows up, and so it doesn't mean that if you've spent the money in a course or whatever, there can still be value there. But the reality of it is that bills given to you is just know the season that you're in, and it's okay that maybe something's a little bit further down the road, and that the information, although good. And you can still apply it, and you can still write it down. You can still keep the information for later, but a lot of it is just going to go right over your head. Right. So get the basics is what I'm hearing.
If you've never played golf, you can run right out and hire some kind of high level golf coach, or you could just go over to the range and hit the balls for a little while and just kind of warm up. Sure, is that coach going to take you to the next level? Absolutely. But
Yep.
you would be much more prepared going to that teacher if you had some momentum under your
Just
belt
some
first.
reps.
And you will get
Yep.
so much more out of working with somebody if you've got the basics. And the basics are what we're getting and giving you right here on this show, right? On all your other episodes, books, things of that nature. Just stay here, and then call us up when you're ready to go that next level. But
Yeah.
hustling
Yeah.
for $4 is always my advice.
Well, I think it's authenticity. Like, if why would two people who sell information be telling you not to buy information? It's because it's real. That like, it's what we both did. So why would we not?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
would we not share that with other people? You said you spent a year really before you did anything major studying, and I can say the same thing about my sales career. It took me years of just self study, and then also paying for stuff. On the business side, it took me years of I just hit my head against the wall, probably too long. In fact, I was the guy that
Yeah.
I didn't need your suggestion of doing the free thing first. I did the free thing too long. I tried to milk it for as much as it was 2 times over.
Yeah, there's both types. I see people that have I don't need anybody to teach me anything. I'm going to figure it all out on my own attitude kind of person.
Yep.
I was a little more towards that. And then I see the absolute opposite, the person who hides in boot camps and hides in class and hides behind books and just keeps thinking the next chapter, the next lecture, the next boot camp is going to be the one. No. You got to take action at some point in time. Yeah, boot camps,
right.
books, all that kind of stuff. That's great. But you got to take that out on the street. You cannot hide in class. So I think the one extreme is I don't need anybody to teach me. I'm going to figure it all out. Yeah, you're right. You will. And this is what I always tell everybody. You're going to get an education. It just depends on how much it's going to cost you and where you get it. Yeah, it will cost you and you will get it. Those two are guaranteed, right? Is it on the street? Is it through the gauntlet of trial and error? Hey, that's what you and I did. We learned.
Yep.
We've got a lot of scars. Got the T-shirt. Yeah, that's an expensive route. Or you could just go straight off into classroom and spend tens of thousands of dollars learning for somebody and never take action, and that's just as bad. So I say, kind of from 20 years of this, right? It's like go out, learn the easy stuff, and then get you a coach, go to the next level. That's the best method, but don't do either extreme. In my opinion.
Yeah. Using your golf analogy, it was I don't know, 5 or maybe 7 years or so ago. And I'm 6'5", so I had to have a, specific golf club set made. And my good buddy has played forever, like since he was 3, but I've never played with him up until this moment. He finally was like, hey, just, just come see how you like it. And anyway, the first year I did pretty well. I'm an athlete. And the second year I came back and thinking I'm just all hot stuff. And obviously I shanked everything because I was overthinking everything. But I knew in that moment exactly what Bill's saying. I knew that okay, I've got the basics. I did the first year. Now the round 2, I'm starting to overthink it. What I need to do is go to the next level. So what that meant for me at that time was, okay, I know I need a coach. I wasn't willing at that time to put that time, money, effort into a golf experience or value.
I'm sure would cost you some.
Yeah, which is fine. And
Sure.
regardless of what I just wasn't for me at that time. I was building businesses. And so it's the same concept though, is that you can fumble for a period of time. That could be 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 years. But at some point you realize, okay, like I got the basics. I got the free version. I had my buddy with me the first year helping me with the basics.
Right.
But now in order to really go to the next level, I actually do need to invest now. I actually do need to take the time, money, effort to go to the next level.
Yeah. And you don't want to hire a coach to just read you the instruction manual.
Right.
You can get that on your own. And that's what say, read the books, read all that stuff on your own. And when you're ready to come to someone like me or yourself, we're here to really help you apply the information in real time. You don't want to go spend a lot of money signing up for a coach and then just having them sit there and just read chapter 3 to you. I mean, you do that on your
Right.
own, and then come to that coach when you're ready to really work on that swing, not when you're just being told what golf is. I mean, come on,
Right.
get that on your own. Yeah. So that's, just take it to that level first and then look us up.
I love it. 13 minutes in and we're already like deep into it, man. Let's rewind here a little bit. I want to
Sure.
know like the depths of who Bill is. Like, why does Bill do what he does? What's the burning desire every day when you wake up? Because 20 years in, you've been successful. Why keep going?
Yeah, I have to admit I hate that question. Not because it's a bad question, because I hate my answers to it. I don't have any great answers to that. I just do what I kind of do every day. So I don't have any high level goals, right? So I am not trying to be the richest person in the world, take over all the real estate in the world. When I was younger, I did have more of that point of view. What I've
Sure.
come to realize is that money comes with a diminishing marginal utility, right? You got a buck, that's a very valuable dollar. You got $1 million, it's not so valuable, right? But every dollar earned comes with one pain in the ass factor. And that never diminishes, right? It is always a pain in the ass to get another dollar. So I kind of had to stop in life and say, all right, well, how many dollars do I need? What's excess, and how much pain in the ass am I willing to sort of deal with? And so after 20 years, I've figured out about how much business I need to do in a year, in a month, in a week, or whatever, to be good, to maintain a very free lifestyle. I don't have yachts and jets and stuff like that. Don't need them. Not interested, right? So that's kind of my ultimate goal, is to just continue staying where I'm at, which is doing the right amount of business that keeps me happy yet keeps me free. And so I would
Yeah.
also kind of offer the point of view that extreme wealth might not be the freedom you think it is. So I would really kind of say, stop and sit down and ask yourself, what is it you really want out of life? And
Yeah.
is it an appearance? Is it a social thing? Are you interested in having status in society? Fine. Are you interested in material objects? Are you interested in travel, freedom? All these different things, right? And,
Yeah.
and so for me, I've kind of boiled it down to more of travel, free time, less physical objects, more experience, and a
Yeah.
hell of a lot less work. I
Yeah.
don't like working that much. So yeah, that's
Well,
that's me. That's what I want to do. I just want to keep
you
maintaining that. So that's
you
kind of
can't hate
my
your
answer to
answer.
all
I
that.
can't hate that answer. You can't hate that answer. That's you described so clearly what it is that you want, which is
Yeah,
okay. Well, that's why we do what we do. Now, whether we've come to grips with, do our actions line up with what it is that we say we want?
right,
And that's what I just heard you say. You said, I've actually done the work of figuring out what I want. And
right.
is it a jet? No. Is it a yacht? No. I don't think that we could go back and forth on whether that serves you or not, right? Like we
That's
can
individual.
that's individual to how it defines,
Sure.
how you're being served. And so for you, like you said, you've got the marker of what it looks like. I also think that that's true too. Like we all want this big number,
Sure.
and I think that we're after more. Like is really what it is. It's like
Sure.
you have to define what that looks like for you, and what more might look like is just freedom, is what I heard Bill say. More might
Absolutely.
look like winning. Like that's how I would describe it. Yes, freedom, but I like winning more than freedom.
Sure.
And but both of those are going to be okay either way.
Yeah. You just need to figure out what's right for you, and don't let Facebook and everybody else and all the other images of all of them decide what's right for you. I hear this a lot, because a lot of my students will come on and they go, oh, but I haven't done X amount of business. And I go on Facebook and it seems like everybody's just doing all
Right.
these wonderful things. What's wrong with me? Why am I not like them? It seems like, well, first of all,
Right.
hold on. That person might have been out there doing it for years before they did that one deal. And it's the first time they posted, and the first deal, and it looks to you like
Yep.
everybody's successful except me. And I'll tell you, that's probably not as true as you think it is, first of
Yep.
all. And second of all, who cares? That good for them. That's a jealousy I kind of had to come to grips with in my life when I saw people that just got lucky. And they went out and closed some big deal and just hit it. And I was out here working really hard, and my deal didn't go so well. And I'm like, wait a minute, I did all this work and they just showed up like an idiot and got lucky. Yeah, let that stuff go. Don't worry about it. It's always an up and down thing. It's like, just level that out. So, don't
That's
ever
good.
try and engage your success against someone else's. I think that's a big mistake we have in society. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
would say, just look more inside yourself and figure out what the reflection needs to be, rather than look out here and say, what does someone else's reflection need to be for me? And then
Yeah.
figure out what you want, and then work to get it, and then knock it off for the rest of the time. At least that's my opinion.
Yeah, you're hitting on a principle that's really important, which is that that I got to be okay with what it is that I want, and not necessarily the pressure of everything else and what everyone else is saying, because really they don't care about you, really. At the
Not
end
as
of the
much as you
day,
think.
yeah, and that sounds a little harsh. It's like it's not that nobody cares about you, but generally speaking, you care about you like 100x,
Yes,
as you
that's the way to
should. It's
put it.
you.
Yes. You care about you way more than anybody else cares about you.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess my question is, how have you? I mean, you've got this even keel. Like, I'm not going to let that bother me. It is what it is. They can have their opinion. Approach, which I 100% agree with. How have you practically gone to that level where you care about you and what it is that you actually want, maybe at that 100x level like you should.
Tolerating massive amounts of failure. Massive amounts of screwing stuff up, right? Everybody wants to talk about their success. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, I'm free because I succeeded," and I did. I say, "No, I'm free because I wrecked it like a lot," right? I just kept going, and I just kept dealing with it, and I kept going through it, and I kept learning, right? And I kept figuring it out, and I kept improving the model, and never letting one of those failures kind of stop me from reinventing myself, re-going. And I've had some big ones. So like, don't listen to us here and think that I'm, weird or somebody special. I was just a normal dude getting started, and I have lost big bucks. I've had foreclosures. I've not filed a bankruptcy, but I've come damn close. Things like that. And now I'm fine. So don't think that if you're having a hard time or you're failing or you can't pay your credit cards this afternoon, you're all alone and you're the only one. And all guys like Chaz and I are just always success. Not true. Not true. Right. So it's really learning to deal with all those ups and downs and all those bad days until you finally get practice well enough that you get there, and it's another point I always put out. What is the definition of insanity? And I'll ask anybody sitting here, Chaz, ask you that question. What do you think the definition of insanity is?
Yeah, it's doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result.
What's the definition of practice?
Keep trying to get better. Do the same thing until you can get better.
So practice is insanity, right? Is that what you're trying to tell me? No, not true.
You trapped me, Bill. You trapped me.
Always do, right? Not true. First comment, that is actually not the definition of insanity. It's not even close. It is a statement and a quote from Einstein. Einstein said that. It is not true. It's a quote from Einstein. Now, most people don't know this.
Enlighten us.
Einstein was wrong. He was wrong. And so people, because he made that quote, and people now have kind of caught this meme of, oh yeah, if I just do stuff over and over, I must be crazy. No, it's called practice. You're an athlete. You said yourself, And so practice is the answer to ultimate success, right? Well, what does practice mean? It means screwing the damn thing up until you stop screwing it up, right? And get better at it, right? So practice is not insane. Right? Failing until you get it right is not insane. It's the absolute answer. And so when you ask me, how did I ultimately get to this mental point of view? I earned it. I earned it through a lot of hard trials and errors and living life until I practiced it right. And so that's the key. And that's why I hate that comment that insanity is doing the same thing until you get it. No, it is not. Stop.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And you laid it out perfectly for the listener to receive courage. And I know we talked about that before I hit the record button. It's like one of our missions here is just to transfer courage. And it's like, okay, well, so if that's real, what that means is that behind every success story, and we've heard this too, this is cliche, but behind every success story, there's just a road of failures. Right. But what does that look like? Okay, well, that looks like practice. It looks like, it doesn't look like necessarily a failure along the way, right? Like that's the difference. Every time, hundreds of times now, when I've said, which I'll ask you here in a second, what's your failure? Or give me one. Usually the response is, well, I've had a bunch of them, but I don't really see it as a failure. Well, it's because if you take the mindset that Bill just gave to you and you see it as practice, I'm expecting to fail. Or like the way I like to say it. I was like, look, I know I'm going to fail. Can I hurry up and just do those? I want to get them all out of the way.
Right. Yeah. If I'm going to get punched in the mouth, go ahead and let's get that on out the way so we can get in the ring here. I don't want to dance around this. Let's do it,
Let's just eat the frog and make it happen. Well, so give us a practical failure or a practice moment for you.
Again, they're all failures. So I wouldn't sit here and say, oh, my failure is not failure. No, everyone failed because they sucked and they hurt and they were horrible. But,
right.
I'd have to think. Very first deal was a failure. If we're talking sort of real estate, I'll give you one there. Very first deal I ever did, that duplex, was a failure. Turned out that I had gotten seller financing on it. And long story, but I had paid about $43,000 for this duplex. I did all the math, just like Robert Kiyosaki said, right? It was cash flow and all that fun stuff. And I go to my very first RIA meeting, and of course they're like, "Oh, raise your hand if you did a deal." I'm brand new to real estate. And I'm like, maybe I did a deal, And they're like, "Oh, tell us about it." And I was like, "Oh yes, I did this. It's $43,000 for this duplex." And the guy in the back of the room just busted out laughing, and I'm like, oh boy. And the guy stands there and goes, "You're an idiot." I'm like, okay, now I'm about this big, right? And he goes, "We're all paying like $20,000 on that street, you moron." And I'm like, oh God. I'm like, "Hey, can we go to lunch?" And I took the guy to lunch, and so he was actually one of my first mentors. And I did. I paid about double what I should have on that piece of real estate because I analyzed it from the income approach. I did not put the deal into context of comparable sale in the whole market. So it was my very first deal. Was my very first mistake. A bigger one, I failed in a raise. I was doing a syndication on a large property, about 200 units. And I got arrogant, and I thought that I had a presence and I was known and this kind of garbage. I got cocky, and I went around collecting business cards thinking business cards mean relationships. Boy, that was an expensive lesson. They do not. And so being arrogant, I kind of thought, oh, I'm known, people know who I am. And I wasn't following up, and I wasn't really building out the relationships. I was collecting business cards, right? But not forming relationships. And so then time goes on, I circle back around and I'm calling all these people saying, hey, do you now want to invest? And they're all going, who are you again? How'd you get my number? Yeah, that didn't go well. And so into that story, I wound up losing $150,000 cash money in earnest money in a deposit on the property because I could not get the raise. I failed. And I got wiped out for a short amount of time. So that really sucked. But, fixed it, went on, moved on. But in that moment, it was larger than life, right? And I have this attitude now of, hey, don't worry about it. Yeah, but in that moment, I thought, man, I'm finished. I'm the laughing stock of Atlanta. The realtors are never going to talk to me again. Nobody's ever going to show me a deal. And the number one lesson that I came away from that, nobody gave a damn. I wasn't that important.
Nope.
It really wasn't that important. I was that important in my head, but not to anybody. Money's green, memories are short. Thank you. Wow. Like, Bill Street one up, whatever. I thought I was finished. Done. Career's over. No, that was stuff I was making up. It really wasn't that big of a deal. Cost average the mistake, write it off, get back to work. You'll be all right, and that's how you ultimately learn to calm down later in life. It takes practice. And even the attitude that you see with me now is still practice. I practice it every day.
Hey, Kings and Queens, Chaz, Wolfe. I want to talk to you about something that's super important to me. We put a lot of time and effort, we meaning myself and my team, into this podcast, into the content that goes out every single day. And if you have been getting any sort of value or insight from this, we want it to be able to reach other business owners too. So we would love if you would like, comment, share, leave a review, post, share again, all of the things on social media, on all the different platforms, or even on the podcast mediums of Apple and Spotify. We would love to be able to get our content into more hands, more entrepreneurs, so they can grow their business as quick as possible. Together, we are building a community of like-minded entrepreneurs who are committed to growing their businesses to new heights. So let's do this. Let's help each other. Let's help each other grow.
Yeah, that's encouraging to be able to know that you're able to kind of pick yourself up, especially with that first deal going south. I want to go back to that one for just a half second. Like you could, that would have been like the reason to just, this isn't for me.
Oh man, I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you like in that moment? What made you say to yourself, let me take him to lunch as opposed to, I'm a failure. Let me just quit.
Insanity or stupidity. I'm not quite sure which one to go with there, but basically, I don't know. There's creativity. Let me swap both of those words out for creativity. And that is one thing that has always been a hallmark of what I do and what I teach. And the things that I do in real estate is all about, being creative. And so I checked the ego, and instead of taking personal offense to the comment that the guy made, I saw the opportunity to correct a mathematical error. And so that's about as plain as I can put it. Guy stands up and says, you're an idiot. My first thing is, okay, I don't disagree. Let's solve that problem. You know what I mean? So I think other people may have become mad, and defended themselves in a social manner. I didn't interested in me. I don't know who this guy is. He's probably an idiot too. What do I care? I just want to know what I did wrong. And if this guy's willing to stand up and be brave enough to tell me that in class, he's probably brave enough to go to lunch and to continue to educate me. And as was true. A guy's a complete jerk, turned out to be a great friend of mine, still friends with him. He's still a complete jerk. Love the guy to death. And he was one of my absolute first mentors in real estate. Still a friend of mine today. So.
Wow. I'm just thinking of other relationships that I have, and how similar some of those are, where you're just like, at the moment it's tough eating crow, right? It's like, this does not taste good. But for whatever reason that was inside of us, we knew it was like, no, like I'm not going to, it's not like we even thought about giving up. It's just like, what's the next thing? I got to figure out the problem. Well, the problem is that I paid too much. Okay. Well, how do I know not to pay too much? Cause I'm going to do another one of these deals. Right.
Right. Yeah. Hey, look, you screw up one, buy two. You screw up two, buy 10. Just don't quit, right? You'll get it right eventually. That's the key. Is
Yeah.
like I screwed up the first one. I'm like, ooh, messed that one up. Give me two more. Like, ooh, screwed those up. Give me 10. Let's just practice through the failures until
Yeah.
we reach that plateau of success. And you were mentioning a minute ago, it's like, right, most success stories have this sort of trail of failures leading up to them. I agree. And the ones that don't were luck. Like
Yeah.
if you see somebody come out of the woodwork and they hit a deal and they don't have a string of failure before some large success, one of two things: they're lying, and I'm going to go with that one on about 80% of the time. They're lying. There really was a string of failures. They don't want to admit it, or it's pure luck and they showed up out of anywhere. That's just gambling. Right now, you cannot base a business on luck, and so don't look at somebody that hit a market once or twice. Did good. Hey, the last 3-4 years, by the way, real estate. Don't
Right.
get too cocky. Don't break your arm patting yourself on the back over the last 2-3 years. Everybody has made money. Call me in 2-3 more years when the market has done something. Then we'll talk, right? So I see so many people going, "Oh, we've done great over the last 3 years." Yeah, who didn't? I
Right.
mean, I'm not trying to take anything away from you, but hold on. Don't go getting cocky, right? And I'm seeing so
Yeah.
much of that in the market right now, and people just don't understand shifts, and they keep doing the same thing until that thing stops working, and then it's slapped out of their hand. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, not that you ask, but yeah, that's the key there. You
It's
got to
good.
kind of watch that stuff.
Well, this is a good transition. So, looking ahead, things are going to change. Business, real estate, they always do. Whether we're looming on a financial downturn in the next 12 months or not, it eventually will be, because that's how things work. They're cyclical. So, what is somebody thinking right now? So how are they practicing doing the same thing over to get better, but yet kind of like almost thinking past that to think, what do I need to be doing differently when things change? Because the same thing, like to your point, isn't going to work possibly.
Right. That's a great point. Yeah, you always have to. Well, I would say that the fundamentals never change. It's kind of like baseball or whatever sport you were playing or golf or anything. There are always the fundamentals, and so whether you're
Yeah.
playing golf on a rainy day or a sunny day doesn't really change the fundamental of your swing, right? Because the
Right.
market's this or the market's that. There are always the fundamentals, and so I am not going to speak to all businesses, but say real estate. You really need to focus on the fundamentals of what a good deal is, and normally it's something that makes money, right? And that's kind of, we've departed from that lately. And
Right.
so that's where I think when you've gone from using math and logic and returns and things like that to create value, and now you've gone into this pure speculative value, that's where you're going to see some of that claw back in the future market. So
Yeah.
I would say to anybody going forward, if we're strictly any business really, but if we're just talking real estate, you need to learn the fundamentals. You need to learn what a good deal is, and you need to look at a lot of deals. So I would say in real estate, it's deal flow, deal analysis, networking. And those are the only three things you need to be worried about. You got to have deals coming in the door on a regular basis. Easier said than done today. I know deals are limited, but whatever. You got to have deals coming in the door on a regular basis. You got to know what a good deal is. You can look at all the deals in the world and have no idea how to analyze one. You're wasting your time. You could
Yeah.
know perfectly how to analyze a deal and never look at one. You're wasting your time. And you could look at a lot of deals and know how to analyze all of them and not be able to pay for them. And
Right.
you're wasting your time. So it's deal flow, deal analysis, and then ultimately the networking, which is the ability to bring in the people to pay for the real estate. If you have those three things going on, you will be pretty good in any market cycle. You are going to, the big adjustment, more granular right now, is debt. I mean, it's the rates have gone up. Debt's weird. I think that we may see some more debt distress in the markets going forward for a while. But yeah, that's the big one is adjusting to the new interest rates and not chasing valuation. You just really need to push back on the seller and get prices down, and
Yep.
don't use fluff and puff to create value.
Well, and using your more general terminology of like eventually it moves into speculation as opposed to maybe mastery. Everything that you're just talking about with the rates, that makes sense, because over the course of the last 3 years, what we've been able to do is go, like it's going to go up, speculation, which has been happening. So it hasn't felt like speculation because it's been
Right.
real, but it's still speculation. And so I'm covering the future that doesn't exist yet based on the past 3 years, which has been really good, with an interest rate that from 2 years ago makes sense, but it's like my math equations in reverse,
Market cycles. The answer there is market cycles, and that is something I teach an awful lot about, but it's understanding market cycles, which really translates into an inflation cycle. You just need to learn to watch inflation. And if you can learn to watch the inflation cycles, that tips you off to pretty much whatever's coming, because the Federal Reserve always uses their rates to adjust inflation. Right? So we've seen rates low for a super long time, and then unfortunately we had pandemic with all of that stimulus money kicked into the economy. That was the black swan we didn't see coming. That was an outlier event, but they've pushed all that money into the world when we went into lockdown, thinking that the lockdown was going to have more negative effect than it really did. It didn't seem to have that much effect on the economy. And now we have all this stimulus money pumped out there, which caused a sharp boost in inflation, which, here come the feds, and then they raise the rates sharply. So it's always just about tracking inflation. Inflation cycles are market cycles, and then those are interest rate cycles, which then just trickles on down the line.
Give us what you're doing in the next 3 years. Real estate, mindset.
Yeah, all the above. Yes, and yes. It's always, my life is a string of Tuesdays. Man, it's just another day at the office. I don't care. This is the entrepreneurial lifestyle. I could be having margaritas Wednesday at lunch, or giving a lecture on Sunday. So I don't really equate in time of the next 3 years. I can tell you what I'm going to do for this week. If you want to go off into a mindset conversation, I don't like 3 and 5 year goals. Hey, it's a complete nonsense waste of time. Since you ask. So I have no idea where we're going to be in 3 and 5 years, right? What I do know is the tasks that I set for myself Monday through Friday. And so what I do is I set up what I consider to be a successful week in whatever, real estate, podcast, life, whatever you want, right? And so I figure out what are the items that make up a successful week, and how many of those do I have to do each week, right? So it might be look at several deals, talk to realtors, do this, exercise, do different things. And then how many of those things do I need to do each week? I got to accomplish them Monday through Friday, because come Monday, it resets. It's not cumulative. I can't bring that forward. No, it is a fail or succeed and fail each week for this structure. And so that's what I call discipline goals. And I've found if you kind of build out your week, you'll do is you'll get to Friday and you'll feel good. Right. And anxiety usually comes from knowing you didn't do something you were supposed to be doing. Right. You didn't study for that test, like when you're in school and now you're cramming the night before the test and you're anxious. Yeah. But you know what? If you kind of do your work for the week, you wind up on Friday. It's Miller time, right? You're like, I'd say Bud Light time, but it's not. Right? Too soon. So Miller time on Friday, right? It's like you get to the end of the week and you feel good, right? And you're relaxed and you're confident, and because you look back over the week and like, yeah, I kicked ass that week. I did my stuff. I'm good. I'm taking off. You get to Friday and you were screwing off all week. You get nervous. So if you have anxiety in your life, one of the ways to really get over that is consistent action and consistent activity in a structured manner. And skip this 3 and 5 year nonsense. So like I said, I can tell you what I'm doing between now and next week. Past that, man, I don't know.
That's good
Just
stuff.
be here.
How is the next market cycle that might take the next 2 or 3 years? How is that affecting your weekly Monday through Friday process that you just described?
None at all. None whatsoever. Nope. I just keep doing the job. It doesn't affect my weekly cycle. The only thing I can tell you is that it very technically affects underwriting of multifamily assets. It affects exactly very technically how I might value a deal. But do I look at the deals, or do I just go, oh, real estate's off today, I'm going to go play golf, screw the whole thing? No, never lose momentum like that. Even whether you believe the market's good or you believe the market's bad, don't worry about it. You show up, you do your work. It's always Tuesday. Markets come, markets go. You try and time this stuff and, nail this down and jump in and jump. You're going to wind up doing more damage gambling in and out of the market than if you were just consistent and had a business model and applied the business model.
Yep.
You'll be fine if you'll do that.
Yep. I was anticipating that answer based on your previous things that you've shared, which is just so good. There's just like
5 year business, vision boards and the protection. I'm telling you, that's mental hoo-ha for anybody that's listening. That is absolute crap. Set your system up for a week, do it. That's it.
I love it. It's funny because the 3 to 5, I hear you totally. I'm on the other end of the spectrum, which is fine, but you can't live in the 3 to 5. That's what I'm hearing you say. Right. You can't live in the 3 to 5. In fact, the people that I know that do live in the 3 to 5 are anxious because they don't have the ability to reverse engineer it down to what you're saying.
There's nothing wrong with 3 and 5 year goals. I'm being extreme and just to make a point. but you know what I mean?
And I love
Yeah,
it.
right. But 3 to 5 years is so
Can't
far
live there.
away.
Yep.
If you're not working on the weekly thing, there's no
Exactly.
chance you're going to reach the 3 or the 5 year thing, right? And by the way, if you're working on the weekly thing, your path goes exactly where it was supposed to go every week.
Exactly.
And maybe that 3 or 5 year goal was the right goal. See, because there's a whole other goal setting problem. People are usually terrible at setting goals. So you've got a 3 year or 5 year goal. Cool. Is it a reasonable goal? Is it obtainable? Right. Is it got metrics to it? Because see, then what I find with my students is you'll go pull some goal out your rear end that you have no idea how to set, and then you don't achieve it. And then you get into a negative loop feedback, right? Now I didn't achieve the goal. Now I'm mad. What's wrong with me? Now you're depressed. Now you're upset. Now you're saying, stop. Knock all that off. Let's just focus back on today. What are we doing Monday through Friday? If you'll do that, your mind tends to go right. So again, there's nothing wrong with 3 and 5 year goals, as long as you know how to set them, and as long as you go back to working each week to achieve them, it's fine. But yeah, the people that live in that 3 to 5 year range, you're setting yourself for mental problems.
Oh yeah, no, I can think of a couple people right now that each time I talk to them, well, first off, it's a roller coaster with that individual because they're excited and then they failed and then right. So everything that you've described is consistency. It's good, bad, and different. Good market, bad market. Republican president, Democratic president. What? Look,
at least on this.
Exactly, right. And I was just on a podcast yesterday as a guest talking about this. It's like, look, man, I've been an entrepreneur through both an extreme left, an extreme right, and back to extreme left. And guess who's been winning through all of that? Me.
Let me double down on that guy's comment. Let me triple down on that comment right there, because, I've said that before 100 times. Man, I've been through a handful of presidents. You know what? And my credit card statement made more difference in my life than who the damn president was. The few dollars in my bank account and that loan I had coming due and the tenant that called up that had the leaks. All of that had more immediate effect in my life than whatever somebody told me the president was. Yes, it affects stuff and all that kind of stuff, but you'd be surprised how little it really affects your day-to-day life. And I think people need to keep their priorities straight.
Yeah, well, you gave us a really
doesn't matter as much as you might think.
Understood, and I agree with you. And I think most people, when they're honest about it, they can see that how really external circumstances, president or fill in the blank, it matters. Yes, it doesn't mean that you just put your head in a hole and don't worry about it. I'm
not saying that.
But what it means is that everything that Bill's given to you as far as a dial it in, and I've got my weekly checklist, my to-do, and that stems from some other bigger things that I want to do. But if I'm not doing this right here, if I'm not dialed in every day, every week, every month, that's what matters. And so I think you've actually given us a really, really clear on-ramp for that. So I appreciate that. I want to ask you about family, because you said freedom's a big deal. And I think freedom generally is a big deal for all entrepreneurs. And so my question about family is, how have you been obsessive over them, just like you have your business? Because even though you've kind of played this consistent, steady Eddie, not up or down, I know that you're all in, because otherwise you wouldn't have success. You've decided and you've become successful. That requires you to go all in. So I also know that if you have a successful marriage and a successful family, that you've gone all in there too. And there's this quote unquote balance that I don't believe exists, right? How are you obsessing over all of it at the same time?
Sure. Well, I obsess over all of it by not obsessing over any of it would be my first and foremost answer. I don't like that word obsess. So just keeping an eye on everything. No, been married for, 13 years. Yeah. Seems like 13 minutes. Sorry, honey. No. Great marriage. Been married for quite a while now. First, only been married once. I got married older, so I was 36. That probably helped. No children, never had kids. So, the wife and I make sure that we keep that freedom together and do things. And she works for me and with the business. And so we run everything collectively. But I would, as I'm sitting here thinking of the answer, some kind of good answer to give you for that, I would have to say pretty much everything I've already said. It's just like you said, it's consistency, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in the marriage and same thing else. It's knowing what you want. It's not straying outside of that narrow focus of what you want and keeping your priorities straight. Could I have infidelity in these things? Sure, but that's not my priorities, and those don't bring me. They don't fulfill desires more than the consistency and stability of life. So I think, to be consistent and stable, you have to let go of a lot of ancillary desires. You can't have everything. You can't run around and do all this. You got to pick what's right for you and stick to it, and then be loyal and to your friends and to your family and to everybody, and treat them right. And I always say, probably beyond anything and everything, is just honesty. Just be honest. And I don't mean like don't lie. I mean literally honest. Like just tell people whatever you feel like they can and say it. And that's it. That's about the only magic I can really give you.
It's awesome. I appreciate that honest answer. I think that's what most people are looking for anyway. I had a conversation on social media the other day, and I was asking if you could tell if somebody was humble or honest. We'll fill in the characteristic online, and I had some folks basically just saying absolutely zero chance. The internet's fake. And look, I'm with you. I understand. But I want to encourage the listener that there's people like Bill out there who are just giving it to you raw. And it might sound a little different. It might sound different than what you've heard, or off-putting, or it might be like, it might rub you a little wrong way, and it might challenge you. It might inspire you. Whatever it is, he's just giving it to you. And that's what I was trying to explain to these folks the other day online. It's like, look, man, I'm just me. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like,
I don't need anything from you. I'm not asking anything from you. I'm just offering you the truth. No agenda. I don't need anything from you, Yeah. And so several comments there. One, it's very difficult to help someone you truly care about. That's something I've realized in life. You really, 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 really care about somebody. It can be very difficult to actually help them because your care may get in the way. So if you really care about somebody, you might want to find a different way outside of your circle of influence to try and influence and help that person. You have to kind of treat yourself that way too. I forgot all this. Anyway, So, being honest, careful, it can be dangerous. Not everybody receives honesty in an honest manner. Some people may get angry at you. Some people may disagree with you. Some people may have, egos that cause them to do certain things. And I have had all of those experiences and all those results. I don't let that change how I speak to people. But at the same time, you do have to be careful. You got to be brave enough to be honest. It's not easy.
Yeah. Brave is the right word. Courage. And those words feel fluffy sometimes. But I mean, otherwise, I feel like the adversary, if you will, speaks louder. Really, is what it is. And so if I'm listening to people online from this post the other day, it's like, oh no, everybody's fake. You can't trust anybody, and it's like, maybe you're not trustworthy. Maybe you're not being honest. Because the way that I operate in person or in line or on my podcast, it's the same.
Right. I love, honestly, it's strange. I love that guy made that comment because it's starting to tell me that what I think is going on is true. If everybody has access to something, it levels the playing field. So all of a sudden AI comes out. All of a sudden ChatGPT, and everybody's a content creator. No, you're not. No, you're not. Not if everybody else can create the exact same content you can. And it's going to cause the world to be full of just absolute garbage, white noise. And then people like you and I rise up out of that white noise when people get sick of it. So flood the world with ChatGPT created nonsense garbage. Please do it. AI the whole wide world up so the real voices can rise up and it'll make us shine. So go crazy. Go ahead. The internet is full of nonsense. Yes, I agree. Until you watch this show. And then you're going to come back. So I love it. Yeah, I love it. It's too bad that individual has that point of view. He's probably not wrong. But go ahead.
Yeah, we'll be busy. We'll be busy being consistent and honest.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just going to keep bringing the truth. And when you've had enough of that AI created nonsense, call me up. But until then, whatever. I don't care. I'm not threatened by that stuff. I've got books. I'm an author. Write whatever you want.
Yeah, it's good, man.
I don't know.
I got one last question here for you.
Yeah, sure.
I want to know if you had the opportunity to whisper in the younger Bill's ear, what would you tell that guy?
Run. Oh, no. What would I say to the younger Bill? Don't do it. Quit doing renovations at that downtime in the market cycle. So same thing I would actually kind of probably tell everybody right now is, hey, you don't catch a falling knife. Now is a time you probably want to knock it off with like some of the speculative purchases, some of the renovations and valuations and things like that. I did a lot of that early on, 08 through 10, 12, that kind of garbage, and force the value up, and then everybody else would go into foreclosure, and I would just watch all my renovation value just literally erode
disappear.
away. And so I've thought long and hard about that. What would I go back and do differently type conversation? And I usually answer nothing because now I'm here and I'm successful. But that's a crap answer, really. Nobody says that. So I really kind of stopped and thought, what could I actually say that would make some difference in my life? And I think really specifically it would be stop doing those certain types of deals right then. I can't give you any larger or more esoteric answer because I feel like if I'd have gone back in time and really educated my younger self, I would have known too much too soon and I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
A lot of times you don't want to know what you're getting into. You don't want to know the path you're going down because if you know, you probably won't go. But if you're stuck in the middle, you're going to push your way through. So
that's right.
Sometimes you just need to take action, put yourself out there, sink or swim, and just do that. And don't learn too much because you can be guilty of knowing too much. I'm in that position now, where now I can find something wrong with every single thing, deal with everything. Well, that can limit taking action, because now you just think, oh yeah, I remember the time when. Don't go down that road either, right? So I would say I wouldn't go back and educate myself too much because I then might scare myself and I wouldn't do it. So,
Yeah, maybe just stick to it.
Yeah, I just keep doing it. Like, hey, kid, you'll be all right. You'll live.
Yep.
I tell you what I would do. I wouldn't go back and say a damn thing. I'd go back and bring some popcorn and watch. Now that I would like to do, just to watch whether it's like, complete train wreck situations I found myself in. Now, looking back years later going, that was such a small little event in my life. But boy, back then, I think that was like, oh my God.
Seriously.
Nothing.
Well,
So
along with the popcorn, get you a camera, create some good content, That would
there
be
you go.
really
Just go back and
honest,
laugh
that's
at my
for sure.
silly old self. Yeah, that's about all I'd really do. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, Ryan or Bill, I'm sorry. I want to know how can the listener find you? You've got products, you've got ways for them to be able to obviously engage with you online, free and paid. I want to know how they can reach you and they can take their real estate investing to the next level.
So we'll go cheap to expensive. All right, email. Send me an email. I'd love to answer questions, whatever you want. So cheap, Bill at gobroadwell.com. So it's BILL at Go Broadwell, GOBROADWELL, right? GoBroadwell.com. I have a website. Before that, I have 2 books, cheap. So I have 2 books on Amazon. I strongly recommend, not because I make money from selling books, I really don't, but I strongly recommend you start with these books because I wrote them to be in a very step-by-step instruction manual for someone who's very new to real estate. So I have 2. First is Real Estate Raw. That is a step-by-step how to build a portfolio. The second is Creative Cash. And that's sort of how to use creative financing in real estate. So Real Estate Raw, Creative Cash, both books on Amazon. And then third, my website, realestateraw.com. All the information on there. I have tons of articles, tons of free info. And that's how you can reach out to me if you're interested in finding out more about my mentorship program. And I would love to work with you. So look me up.
Yeah, man. We just appreciate you spending the time, being honest, giving us the day-to-day consistent efforts of a freaking winner. Bill, you've built a like you said, a portfolio, a legacy, something pretty cool, but you're wearing it with what do they say, walk quietly, carry a big stick. I think that describes
the
you
legacy
well.
but the legacy, Chaz, is this podcast. The legacy is this information, not the real estate, not the business. Who cares? The legacy is the information that you and I are actually creating and leaving. Like you said before the podcast, before this show started, these things live on the internet for years. Good. Yeah. This is the legacy that we're doing. So when you ask me what I'm really doing in the next 5 years, now that I stop and think about it and go back and answer that question, exactly what we're doing right now, continue to help people because the information is the legacy, not the real estate.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be up helping possibly even millions for many, many years. So, Bill, you're incredible. Blessings to you and your family. Thank you for being here. Good
Thanks, sir. Thank you. Likewise.
Thank you for listening to Gathering the Kings today. I hope that you were able to pull out a few nuggets to go apply into your business right away. More importantly, though, I hope that you're realizing that it takes more to be successful than just being by yourself, doing it all on your own, carrying the weight all by yourself. What I have realized, not only in my own journey from multiple businesses and multiple different industries, and now interviewing over 200 or 300 other very successful 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners, is that it's tough to do it alone. And so Gathering the Kings exists to bring together successful entrepreneurs. In fact, we are putting together 1,000 kings, specifically who are grateful but not done. We're intentionally assembling kings who fight tooth and nail for their business, family, and communities. And here's what we believe, that in the pursuit of excellence in those areas, that it ignites within us the responsibility to govern power and forge a lasting legacy. So if that relates and resonates with you, and you know that you need people around you, sharp, qualified, other very successful business owners, I want you to go to gatheringthekings.com. I want you to take a look at what we're doing and see if it makes sense for you to be part of our pursuit to 1,000 kings. Talk soon.